So we're going to go ahead and get started today. And one thing that I wanted to talk about before we got into scripts and objection handling, I wanted to show a quick video, but more importantly, I want to talk about fear, false evidence appearing real, right? We all hear it. I don't know if there's anybody on this particular call, but there are a lot of agents that I come across that let fear keep them from doing what they need to do every single day. I don't know if anyone is willing to say that that's them, but is there anyone sitting on the sideline, not taking action, not calling those expireds, not calling those FSBOs, maybe even not calling your database because you're letting fear get in the way? Anyone feel like that on this call? Probably not. No, a few. Okay, cool. I love the fact that you say that, because here's the thing that's so crazy. I would rather call an expired or a FSBO versus someone in my database. And there are other people who, would rather call their database and call expires or FSBOs. Here's the thing that I want you to understand, like, and I say this all the time, the success you want is in the cave you fear. You have to do those things that make you super uncomfortable. And I talk about it all the time because it's part of my journey. You guys who know me well know that for years I have been struggling with my fear of public speaking. And you see me now, like teaching classes and being up on stage. I'm still uncomfortable. I had just learned how to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's the whole thing that I want you guys to embrace, is that you don't have to wait until you're completely prepared. You just need to start going. You need to start working and moving in the right direction and stop letting fear keep you from doing what you need to do. And part of this when it comes to prospecting and when it comes to fear is that if you really understand what your job is and what you should be doing, you can take a lot of pressure off of yourself. And so I just want to briefly speak on that. But before I do, I just had a quick 3-minute video that I want to share with you guys. And so please make sure you're muted. You may have seen this video before. Will Smith, he was preparing to jump out of a plane, and he was talking about fear. So I just wanted to show that brief video with you. We're going to have a quick discussion about it. Then we're going to get into talking about some scenarios. So give me 1 second to share my screen with you so that I can bring up that video. And once I do that, I want you guys to listen to what he says. And I want to hear, how that resonates with you. I want to hear from at least 1 or 2 people after I share the video. It's a quick one. So let me go ahead and share that quickly so we can get into it today. Here we go. Let me see here. Alberto, give me thumbs up if you can see the video. Perfect. Here he goes.
Skydiving is a really interesting confront with fear. So I gotta stand up. You go out the night before and you take a drink with your friends, and somebody says, yeah, we should go skydiving tomorrow. And you go, yeah, we'll go skydiving tomorrow. Yeah. And you go, yeah. And everybody goes, yeah. And you go home by yourself, you're like, Right? And you're like, well, I mean, they was drunk too. So then that night you're laying in your bed and you just keep, and you're terrified. You keep imagining over and over again jumping out of an airplane, and you can't figure out why you would do that. So you get there, and then you have this safety brief. And you're standing there, and the guys will tell you, well, if the chute doesn't open, what's going to happen is well, why the hell, what could happen? So you get onto the airplane, and you're sitting there, and it's extra because you're sitting on some dude's lap, some stranger, trying to make small talk. Yeah, man. So you be jumping with people all the time, huh? So you fly, and you go up to 14,000 feet, and somebody opens the door, and in that moment, you realize you've never been in a freaking airplane with the door open. Terror, 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 terror. And then people start going out of the airplane. And the guy walks you up to the end of the thing, and you're standing and your toes are on the edge, and you're looking out down to death. They say, on 3. 1, 2, and he pushes you on 2 because people grab on 3. And you fall out of the airplane, and in 1 second, you realize that it's the most blissful experience of your life. You're flying. There's 0 fear. You realize that the point of maximum danger is the point of minimum fear. The lesson for me was, why were you scared in your bed the night before? What do you need that fear for? Everything up to the stepping out, there's actually no reason to be scared. And then in that moment, all of a sudden, where you should be terrified is the most blissful experience of your life. And God placed the best things in life on the other side of fear. That was my experience with skydiving and fear.
All right.
All right.
So practically speaking.
But I didn't like that take. I'm going to do it again. Back to the top. I can sell that better. I can sell it.
Wasn't that a great video? God placed the best things in life on the other side of fear. I hear that loud and clear. I don't know about you guys. And so I showed you that video because it can almost feel like that, like sitting on the edge of a plane ready to jump out when you're ready to pick up that phone. I was telling a story last night to someone as I prepared for this call, and I remember my first time after committing myself to making calls. I don't know if you guys have heard that story, but let me say this. God placed the best things in front of us on the other side of fear, right? And I remember the first time I picked up the phone. Let me see, I got my little fake phone here. I remember my hand was shaking so bad, like I could barely dial the numbers to call a FSBO. And when they picked up and I'm looking at my script, I didn't really know it. And I'm like, hi, I'm David. I'm a local realtor. I was stumbling. My voice was shaking. It was the craziest thing. And now I look back at it 15, 16 years ago, and I'm like, what was I ever afraid of? But at that moment, the fear was a real thing. I had this dude in my ear, my drunk monkey. He was like, you don't know what to say. Why would a for sale by owner ever work with you? How can you help them make more money if they have to pay you? I don't understand this. I've never sold anything. I'm new to this town. I'm new to this area. I haven't sold anything. Like, all this fear was talking to me, and it was keeping me from doing what I needed to do until I had that conversation with my coach. And I made a commitment to never come to the office again without doing income producing activities. And so I picked that phone up and I started making calls. And every time I did it, it got easier and easier and easier and easier. And it's just baby steps. It's focusing on getting 1% better every day. And that's the reason why I'm here today, to help you guys. You know, I have strong agents on here that know their scripting, right? You know, Al's on here. I got Pete on here. Like, there are people on here that know what to say. Fatima's on here. Betty's on here that know what to say in order to actually convert these people. But we all started at the same place where we weren't sure and we didn't know what to do and we didn't know what to say. And we had to work ourselves into it. So I just want to explain something to you before we get into scripting and role playing. One way to quiet that fear and quiet that drunk monkey in your head is to recognize what your true job is. You know, as real estate agents, our job is to prospect and lead gen every day. I hope you guys understand that at this point in time. However, our true job is to be problem solvers. That's it. And so the whole point of you making the phone call is to find out what problems people have so that you can provide a solution. And when you understand and you take pressure off of yourself and stop making it about, I need my next appointment, I need to get my next listing so I can get commission, and you make it about, what does this person need and how can I best help them? It takes a lot of pressure off of you, because then your conversation is really question-based and you're getting information and you're becoming a problem solver. And people don't care what you know anyhow until they know you care about them. So we got to take some time to really dig into it and understand what they're looking to accomplish, and then be the problem solver they're looking for. So as an example, you know, one thing I wanted to talk about, let's start off with talking about this. Commission is a big thing, right? So when someone says, you know, I don't want to pay your commission, or will you lower your commission? We can talk about ways to overcome that objection, but I want to throw some questions out, and I need you guys to unmute and work with me here and play with me here, what are some things we should be thinking about, or what are some questions we should be asking when someone says, will you lower your commission? Or are you flexible on the commission you pay? What should we be thinking about before we even go into objection handling? What are they looking to accomplish by asking us that question? And what conversation should we be having with that seller? Anybody want to give me something here? Will you lower your commission? I can't do 6. I'll list with you if you do it for 4. I'm not willing to pay a commission. What should we be saying to that seller? Alberto.
Negotiable.
Well, it is negotiable, Marilyn. You're right. Commission is negotiable.
Is it?
Not for me, but shouldn't be. Alberto, I want to hear what you have to say about that, and then I'm gonna go.
Yes, Mr. Seller. Are you worried about my 6% commission, but you are not paying attention for the 94% check that you are getting at closing?
Yeah.
Is that true?
So that's the thing. Like, we got to think about, are they really worried about the commission they're paying, or is there greater concern what they're going to net in their pocket? Right? David, go ahead. What are you saying?
I think you've said in your question, right? You said we need to figure out why they want to know, like why they want to pay us less of a commission. So I think that would be one of my first commissions. Like, what is it about my commission that's causing you some concern? Like, what are you trying to accomplish by getting me to charge you less money?
That's exactly right. And most of the time when they want us to accept a lesser commission, why is that though? That's right. Money they save, what they put in their pocket. So the thing that we need to understand, and David, you're absolutely right, and Pete, I see you with your fingers, you're absolutely right too. They want to make sure that they're walking away with the most money in their pocket. So when you hear someone talking commission, automatically the easiest thing to do is switch it, take it away from commission, because that's not what it's about anyhow. It's about what are they going to net when they sell their home? What's in it for them? And that's what we need to talk about. So how do we have that conversation? Like, if we were just talking and we understand that they aren't really worried about our commission, they're really worried about what's in it for them and what they're going to net when they sell this home, what should we be talking about? You guys unmute and tell me. I want to hear this before we get into our objection handling.
I guess what like their motivation is, like what they need, like for the next steps, like why they need that extra.
That could be part of it. Yeah, because listen, Ashley, there are people that I've met with, and the reason they wanted my commission to be less is they needed all the money they could net because they were upgrading and buying a bigger home. And so for them, it's like, the more money I can save, that goes to my next property. And so when you understand that, it makes sense, right? So then our conversation needs to be about how working with us is going to put more money in their pocket than if they sold it on their own. How do we demonstrate that to a seller? How would you demonstrate that you can help them net more than they could on their own?
Well, I would say understanding that, yes, you want to net the most amount of money, but working with me, I typically get my clients 120 over the asking price. So by paying my commission, my commission rate is not going to change the amount of money that you net.
Okay, so you start talking about, yeah, you were breaking up a little bit, but I got the gist of it. Betty's talking about like list price versus sales price ratio. We need to know our lore, language of real estate. We need to know our numbers. I just want, for the people who are brave enough to turn their cameras on, I want you to raise your hand if you could tell me right now what your list price to sales price ratio is, either for you or for your office. Like, maybe you don't have sales, but your office does. If I asked you, what is your list price to sales price ratio? You know it. And if I double checked, it would be correct. I only see one hand up. I see 2 hands up. See, that's the issue right there too. If you don't understand what your value is, if you don't understand it, you'll never be able to explain it to them. And so one way to deal with that fear and deal with that is understanding your numbers. We need to know list price to sales price ratio for us and for our office. We need to be able to talk about that. So let's handle it. Let's handle that objection. Now that we've had these talking points, you understand what I'm thinking when I ask you to lower my commission, and you understand how to handle it. Let's throw it out there now. And I'm going to say, hey, we're ready to list with you. We're ready to go. The only sticking point for us is we can't do the 6% commission. If you'll lower it down to 4, I will hire you today. Will you do it at 4%? And this is an actual listing presentation. You are sitting in front of me right now. You've got paperwork in your briefcase, and I just gave you an objection that we'll list if you'll do it at 4, but I'm not paying 6. Well, I guess I have a question first. Any of you guys hungry for some business? You guys want the listing? I hope this is not how you show up at the listing appointment. What's up, Pete? Give it to me.
No, I want to throw this out there too, just for maybe some agents right now who are maybe working a little bit more with buyers, how you can use that statistic to actually help your buyers too.
Yes, please.
If you take that number and you say, okay, I say, it's tough right now because for buyers, right, you're obviously paying over the list price in almost every single scenario. So how can you use that statistic to help your buyers or get a buyer agreement signed or whatever that is? But if you show that the average, home in the market is selling for 112% over its list price, and you're getting your buyer's home sold for 107 or 106%.
Yes.
Now you just showed another way that you can actually save the money. That was a big aha I had this week that I wanted to share.
And it's an aha we need to be able to talk about, especially with this lawsuit. If buyers are going to be in a position where they have to pay you, or that may be coming up in the conversation, boy, what a way to show your value and why someone would want to work with you, right? They're not going to overpay for that property. They're going to pay 6 or 7% less than the typical buyer would. So I think that's really good, Pete. All right, back to my question. You guys stop letting fear get in the way of you raising your hand and overcoming this objection. It's okay if you get it wrong. That's why we're here in script practice, so that we can help you get it right. The objection is, I'm not doing 6%. I'll list with you right now if you pay me 4. I want somebody to handle that. There we go, Al. Give it to me.
Hey, Mr. Seller. I completely understand. May I ask you, what do you do for a living?
I'm in insurance sales. I work for Allstate.
Insurance sales. So, how would you feel if tomorrow your boss said, I know you're, let's say you're making 100,000 a year.
Uh-huh.
I know you're making 100,000 a year, but can you work for me next year for 80,000? Would that, because I need some extra money to go, on vacations or make improvements to my business. How would you feel about that, Mr. Seller?
I wouldn't feel good about that at all. That's not my problem. I still got to eat and take care of my family.
Correct. So you can understand why I choose the commission that I choose, and you're going to get what you pay for when you work with me. I know that it seems that the cost can be steep, but just understand that it's going to be worth it in the end.
I like your objection. I think we can tighten that up and make that stronger, but I love what you covered. How can we make that a little stronger? What Al said, he went to David, tell me, what do you do for a living? So he's kind of putting it back on me. And I think that's a great way to handle the objection, Al, because when you get me talking and I say something, like I always mention to you guys, it's a fact if I say it, right? And so by you making me part of that conversation and making me understand where you're coming from, you'll have a better opportunity to make your point. However, how can we make that stronger, what Al said? Anybody else want to run through that example of what do you do for a living?
Give it a try.
Give it to me.
So you're an insurance salesman. Are you a good insurance salesman?
I've been number 1 for the past 5 years.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And did you work for those sales?
Of course. And I went through a lot of training and learned a lot over the years to get to where I am now.
I bet you did. And you deserved the money because you earned it by working for it. Is that what you said?
Absolutely.
And did the people that you sold the insurance policies for benefit by your hard work?
Of course they did. I saved them a lot of money and they got great benefits.
Correct. I agree. 100%. When I work with somebody who is qualified and well-trained, my experience is better and the outcome is better. And that is why I get my commission, because when you work with me, you have a highly qualified luxury agent who will work for you and get you the max amount of money. There'll be nobody more than you who wants to get you the most for your home and knows how to do it.
I like it. You guys like that?
Rosalia,
All right, Rosalia, all the way from the beach. Rosalia got it. Okay. So I like that. And here's what I was thinking as Rosalia was talking. Like, what if you said, who can I role play? Pete, if you don't mind, if you can unmute. So what if I said, so yeah, so Pete, so you've gone through all that training, you're an insurance salesperson, you have all this training, you have great results, you're number one, your people save a lot of money with you. However, what if your boss came into you and said, Pete, we want you to do that same amount of work, but we want you to do it at 20% less? What's your response going to be?
Probably be no, go fly a kite.
Well, Pete, listen, we just hired a whole bunch of new insurance salespeople, and they're willing to do it at less money. And so maybe we'll just go ahead and hire one of them instead of you, because they'll do it for cheaper. How would you respond to that?
Well, I mean, I think if you're hiring someone new, I mean, you got to train them like that. I've been doing this for a while. Like, I know what I'm doing. So my numbers show for themselves. Like, I do this every day. So
yeah,
I have a track record.
You got a track record. And you would probably say, hiring those new people, there's a learning curve there. And how much money are you losing with those new people versus, you got a proven track record in me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pete, I got to tell you, man, I don't disagree with you. And that's the reason why I don't discount my commission. There are people who will do it for less. However, you don't know how inexpensive it is to hire a professional until you actually hire an amateur, just like you were saying, right? So why don't we do the right thing? I'm 6%. I'm ready to go to work for you. And I will make sure that when you are at the closing table, you put the most money in your pocket as possible, because I know that's really what's important to you. It's not really my commission. It's about how much you make on the sale of this home, right?
Yeah, you're right.
And I have the track record to prove it. So I'm going to show that to you right now and show you what I do for my other clients. And once you see that I can get you the results you're looking for, let's go to work. All right.
All right, let's do it.
So we're walking the seller through this conversation. Pete understands where I'm coming from now. Does that make sense to you guys?
You said you don't know how cheap it is to hire a professional until you hire an amateur. Is that what you said?
Yep. You don't know how inexpensive it is to hire a professional until you hire an amateur.
I love that.
And how true is that? It's super true. And I think we all have had experiences in our lives where we tried to cut corners by hiring an amateur, and we ended up spending more because we had to have somebody come back behind them and fix the problem. So when we can overcome an objection with a real life situation that people understand, they get it. And I'm not saying just by saying that they're going to automatically say, okay, great, I'll pay you 6%. You may have to overcome it a second time or a third time or a fourth time. However, we got to make them part of the conversation. That's the point that I want to get across to you guys. All right.
Well, and what I like what you did was like you walked them through a story, like you could picture it. You could see that person sitting in their insurance office with new agents coming in and their boss coming in. You weren't just telling them, right? You were kind of telling a story and painting a picture, which made it a lot easier to understand, because everybody's telling them, I'm the number one agent. I can do this for you. I can get you the most money. But when you show that, even through your communication skills, walking them through that scenario, you're already separating yourself from what the majority of the agents do.
I love that. And then also when you're walking them through that scenario, I'm asking you questions. So you're part of that conversation, right? It's not just me talking. If I just talk, you're going to tune me out and you're not going to listen. When you're part of the conversation, you pay attention, which is one of the reasons why when we're in push and we're learning how to go over comps, we make the seller part of the conversation. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms? Like, we get them involved in the conversation. One of you guys who signed up for this, one of the objections that you put down was the seller's interviewing other agents, and you don't really know how to handle that when they tell you they're going to be interviewing other agents. So let's talk about that really quickly. You're setting up an appointment, you're pre-qualifying, and they tell you, hey, we're going to be interviewing other agents. What should you be thinking about, and what should you be saying to that seller? We're not doing the objection handling right now. I just wanted to talk to you about that scenario and what your thought process should be. David, go ahead.
So the first thing I would do would be to compliment my potential buyer or seller, my client, because that's smart, right? You should be doing that. So I'm not afraid of that. I'm not concerned. Like, I think that I'm dealing with somebody that's a smart business person. So
yes,
I feel like we're definitely on the same page with that. So that makes sense. Now let's talk about this. What is it about a real estate agent that you're looking for? Like, what type of what are you looking for in your real estate agent?
I like that. So we should compliment them. I love what David said. And then we should start finding out what they're looking for in the person that they're going to interview. And more importantly, what else do we want to find out? I want to know who they're interviewing. Why would I want to know that? Somebody tell me. This is easy.
You know what is your competition?
Know your competition, right? If I know who you're interviewing, guess what I do? I go do my research and I find out what's their days on market. I find out what their list price versus sales price ratio is. I can see, you know, how many homes they sold, how many units they moved, so that when you're vacillating on who to hire, I can say, hey, I brought both of our stats. Take a look at us, apples to apples, so that you can choose the best agent. The other thing is, if people are interviewing agents, do most sellers know how to interview an agent and what they should be looking for? They don't know. So you could have something like, let me share my screen really quickly. If you guys want this, is this showing big on my screen or is it showing really small? Big, okay. If you guys want this, I'll include this when I send out the recording of the video, but these are agent interview questions that you can take from this document and put these together for a seller. So here's what I used to say. Oh, you're interviewing agents. Great. I'm sure it would be helpful for you if I brought you a list of questions that you can ask the agents that you're interviewing to make sure that you are hiring the right agent. And they always say that would be very helpful. So these are questions like, how long have you been selling real estate? How many homes did you sell? What's your ratio between list price and sales price? You know, another one I would throw in there now is like, do you reverse prospect? And I would tell the seller, if you ask that question and they don't know what it is or they don't do it, kick them out your house, right? And so the beauty of these questions is you can choose the questions or create questions that make you stand out. And that's what you should be doing, right? So I'm going to talk about the fact that I reverse prospect. I'm going to point out my days on market, my list price versus sales price ratio, the fact that I'm a full-time agent, the fact that I do all of these things. I'm going to have questions that really make me stand out, and I'm going to have all the answers to the questions, and then I'm going to give that to the seller. And I'm going to say, when you interview those other agents, if I couldn't convince them to list with me, when you interview these other agents, these are the questions you should be asking. And if they don't have the answers, then that's telling you right then and there, that's not the person that you want to hire. So there are certain things that we can do to make sure that when things like that come up, we know how to handle it. So now let's go to that actual objection. I'm talking to you. Maybe you're at my house and I'm saying, hey, you know, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Agent, I like everything you said. Okay, I understand what your commission is. I understand the price that you're recommending. We're not going to make a decision today. I'm going to interview some additional agents. How do you guys overcome that? How do you get me to list with you before I leave your house when I'm telling you I want to interview some additional agents? Hey, give us a call on Saturday. We're going to interview some other agents Friday evening. We'll make a decision Saturday morning. You're in front of me. You got your paperwork. You know, if you leave that house, the chances of you getting that paperwork signed go down. What do you say to me? Hey guys, can I say something really quickly? We're here to sweat and practice so we don't bleed in war. I want to know how you would react if you were in front of a seller. If this is how you react, I can understand why you guys didn't have the year you want to have this year. You can't sit there and just look at me. I'm not going to give you the business. You got to overcome my objection. You got to be comfortable. And it's okay if you think you know what to say, but you're not 100% sure. It's okay to raise your hand. If it's not the right thing to say, we'll correct you. But if you want to learn, if you want to get comfortable being uncomfortable, you got to get out of your comfort zone and raise that hand and start speaking. I'm going to push you guys. And next time I'm not going to ask, I'm just going to pick on somebody. So be ready. I'm going to David, then I'm going to Alberto. Go ahead, David.
Well, David, you know, I originally complimented you for, you know, going out there and exploring your options when it comes to real estate agents, but we've had a pretty comprehensive conversation. I think you understand where I'm coming from, and you know, I certainly understand what you're trying to achieve. What are you looking to accomplish by meeting with those other agents at this point?
You know, David, I got to tell you, I heard your number, I heard your commission. I just want to see, you know, if they have a different number, if they think they can get more for my house. I really need to maximize what I sell it for. So I want to hear their opinion on the price.
Okay. So we've gone through the comps. I mean, and if they're a good agent, they're probably going to go and bring you the same comps or similar comps. So I think would you agree that we've come to a good resolution for what we think the value of your house is?
That's good. Yes, I would.
Okay. And if we're in agreement that we understand where we should where we should place your house in the market price wise, if another agent comes along and says, hey, I think we should price your house, for $100,000 more, do you think that's going to get you more money?
Well, I mean, if they're saying that they can get it for $100,000 more, I want to hear a little bit more about that, because why couldn't you get that for me? If
Right.
they think they can do it, I want to hear how they can do it.
And David, you know why I can't do it, right? Because I'm dealing with the actual numbers, right? The actual comps that say this is where your market will trade at, this is where your home will trade at in this market, right? So another agent comes along and tells you you can get more money, but you'll realize how inexpensive it is to hire a professional once you hire an amateur, right?
Love it.
Someone who's telling you something that's not true given the market, that's going to cost you money in the long run. So what I'd like to do, David, is let's get this agreement signed. Let's get your home on the market at the right price, and let's get started today.
I love that. And David, don't mute yet. Let me ask you this. So I love that you said this is what the market is kind of bearing for your house. Have you guys heard the objection handler where I would say to David, like, hey, David, I understand you want to hear from them and see if they can get you more. David, let me ask you, have you ever bought stock in a company before?
Yes.
So you understand how the stock market works, right?
Yes, goes up and down.
Yep. So years ago, you bought a stock in a company for $200 a share, right? However, right now, you have to sell that stock no matter what. And you look it up and it's currently trading for $100 a share. How much can you sell it for?
Unfortunately, I can only get $100 a share for that stock.
But what if you wanted 120? Would anybody pay you 120 for it?
I doubt it.
Why not?
Because the market doesn't call for that.
David, I don't disagree with you. And the stock market is just like the housing market. I understand that you want more for your home. However, the market is telling us that a house like yours is selling and trading at this price right now. So in order for us to get it sold and get you to California in February, we have to listen to the market. And currently, this is where it's trading. So why don't we go ahead and do the right thing and not waste any more of your time? And let's not waste those agents' time. Let's go ahead and price your property at a price that will cause it to sell so we can get you moved.
Okay, that sounds good.
That makes sense, right? And what about, hold on a second. Have I showed you guys this? Have we talked about this before? All right. I know there's some new people on this call. Look at Dave. He got his money ready too. I love it. I love it.
I don't have the $100 bill, but I counted out 6 singles because I was waiting for it.
My man, I may have you go through that. Marilyn, let me ask you a question. I got this $100 bill here, right? If I offered to sell this to you for $50, would you buy it?
Yes.
Of course you would, because you would make a $50 profit. Would you buy it for 75?
Yes.
Good. I mean, you would even buy it for 95 and make a $5 profit, wouldn't you?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Now, Marilyn, if I came to you and said, I'm going to sell this to you for 120, would you buy it?
Doesn't sound right. No.
Why not, though? Why wouldn't you buy it for 120?
I'm overpaying.
Marilyn, I completely agree with you. However, that's exactly what you're trying to have me do with your house. You're trying to get me to sell it and get someone to overpay for it, and it's not worth that. So what we need to do is price it correctly based on what the market's telling us. The market's telling us we have to be priced here in order to get your home sold. Those are ways to overcome that objection where we can talk about it. What David said, using the stock market, using this $100 bill example, sometimes you have to have props. You have to ask questions and really get the seller to understand the situation we're in. Alberto, you're up. What's up, sir?
Yes, Mr. Seller, I heard that you want to interview another agents, but for any reason, there is something that in my presentation that I didn't cover. And my question to you, how can I win with you, Mr. Seller?
I mean, how can you win with? I guess that's a great question. You can win with me by lowering your commission and getting my house sold.
Definitely, but you don't want to look like a dollar store property, right?
I don't
You
want to
have to
look like
look
a
it
what now?
like a dollar store property, like a
Okay.
discount property,
Okay.
You want to shine in the market for the future week when you get more attraction for buyers looking for property like yours. And you
Well,
don't
I
want,
mean, yeah, I want those buyers to show up for sure.
yeah, but I telling you, I can get you up to 98% or your asking price, instead of getting 90, 92, 94, because other agents can reduce the commission, but they don't care about you. They care about them because they are gonna get more phone calls and they are gonna be selling properties around your property, They are using you.
So what do we call that when the agent's using us? What is that called? Buying the listing.
Buying the listing. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And one thing that you can say, Alberto, and everybody on this call, what concerns me about you interviewing other agents and talking to other agents is that a lot of times all they want to do is come in and buy your listing. Do you know what that means? And essentially what that means, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, is that they will tell you exactly what you want to hear in order to get your listing. They don't care that you have to be in California by February. They know you want $100,000 more. They're going to tell you they can get it because they know once they have your listing, they're going to get phone calls. And your house is overpriced. They're just going to help people buy properties that are priced correctly. Essentially, they're using your house as a billboard to advertise who they are. That's the conversation, right? They're buying the listing. You don't want that to happen. Pete, go ahead.
All right, Mr. Seller. So so you want to meet with other agents and you said you have them scheduled for, you said Saturday?
Yes. Friday, this evening, and we'll make a decision on Saturday.
Oh, this evening. Okay, so you're meeting with them this evening. And how many agents are you meeting with?
2.
2 agents. And if you don't mind me asking, who are they?
I'm meeting with Ashley Augustine from EXP, and I'm meeting with David Gossett from Keller Williams.
Okay, awesome. Okay, and tell me a little bit. I mean, what's important to you about meeting with 2 other agents this evening?
Well, I was always told to interview several agents and find someone that can get me the best price and where it wouldn't cost me as much money. So I'm looking for someone who's going to be flexible on their commission because I can't afford to pay a lot. And I'm looking for someone that can show me they can sell it for top dollar.
Gotcha. Okay, so flexible on commission and sell it for top dollar.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. And now, Mr. Seller, is there anything, based on our conversation, everything we discussed today, is there any reason that you wouldn't hire me today, aside from meeting with these other 2 agents?
I mean, that's really it. I want to hear what they have to say. I mean, if I can save some money on commission, I understand why you charge what you charge. However, if I can get it for 1% less, that's a lot of money in my pocket.
Gotcha. And if getting it for 1% less meant maybe you were risking selling it for, say, 4 or 5% less, is that a risk you'd be willing to take?
Oh, how do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Well, you see, Mr. Seller, I mean, a lot of times what we see is, sometimes agents who come in and, what they do is they do what we call buying a listing. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of times, listen, I'd love to tell you everybody in this industry is of the highest ethical standard. But we know, just like in any profession, that's not always the case, right? Wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely. I'd agree with that.
Yeah. So when we say buying a listing, what we really mean is an agent who maybe has subpar skills and can't really, know their value, so to speak. Would actually come in and tell you pretty much whatever you want to hear, right? They'll take it at whatever commission you want, and they'll price it at whatever price you want, regardless of what your goals are, right? Now, Mr. Seller, we already identified that you need to be in California by February, right?
At the latest, yes.
At the latest. And what would it look like for you if you didn't make it to California by February?
I have to be there no matter what. The unfortunate part would be my wife and kids will have to stay here until we sell this house. And we want to move together.
Right. And how would that feel if you were out in California starting your new job where you needed to be and your wife and kids were here, dealing with packing up the house, getting it sold and getting out of here?
I'd feel pretty guilty because my wife has a busy schedule and my kids are busy with sports. And if I wasn't there to help her, I wouldn't feel good about that. So it'd be a lot on her to deal with this house being sold.
Yeah. So Mr. Seller, we've already went through the timeline, right? And we've established that we're actually a lot closer to needing to get you on the market than maybe you had originally thought, right?
Right.
So what I'd hate to see is wasting any more time. Again, is there anything aside from just meeting with other agents just to feel like you've done the due diligence that would prevent you from hiring me today?
No, like I said, if I just want to see if I can maybe save a little money, maybe hear a different opinion on price. That's really the only thing. I mean, I like you, Pete. I like everything you've said. It makes sense to me, but this is a pretty big move for us.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And one thing I will say is, you don't know how cheap it is to hire a professional until you hire an amateur. So let's do the right thing, David. Let's get you on the market today. I'll call the other agents, let them know that you've made your decision, and we can get rocking and rolling. Does that sound fair?
I always love that objection handler, Pete. I'm gonna say absolutely yes.
All right, let's do it.
And here's the only other thing that I might have thrown in there to tie it all together. It's like, Pete, I can't allow you to talk to those other agents because I don't want you to have that regret. I understand why you feel you should talk to other agents. I've had other clients that have felt the same way. However, what they found is that those agents didn't care about their motivation. And when they should have had their home sold, they were still in their home and dealing with the repercussions of not having the sale go through. And you already told me like how tough that's going to be on your wife if she has to be here with your boys and you're in California starting this new job. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get your house on the market and get it sold so you guys can move together. And I'll take that responsibility of calling those other agents off your plate. I'll call them and tell them that you decided to list with me. But here's the good part. If they have a buyer, I'll still pay them a commission. So they still have a way they can make some money. Let's go ahead and make sure that you and your family can get to California together, and let's get your property listed. I love what you said, though, Pete. Really good. Really good. Did you guys notice what Pete did, though? He was asking me questions. He was asking about motivation. He was asking me, like, what's the worst case scenario? What happens if this home doesn't sell?
Yeah, one other thing I just want to throw in there, too, just from some of the other role plays, is just to maybe highlight is, like, I think you've taught me this, is like isolating the objection is so important. And sometimes we end up talking in like things that so by asking that question, like what's important about interviewing other agents, and is there anything other than those two things that would keep you from hiring me today, right? That's like a soft close. So you're like, now you really know, okay, it's not even price, it's more commission, or maybe it's not even commission, maybe it's more price.
Love that. And then also, somebody finish this for me. Logic makes you think, and
emotion makes you act.
Emotion makes you act. So Pete, the way he questioned me, he knows what buttons to push now. If I'm pushing back on him, he's talking about my family being here and me having to go to California by myself. He's playing on that pain point of my wife being unhappy. And we know happy wife, happy life, right? He knows that if we don't sell this home and my wife has to stay here and she's stressed out trying to sell a home and work and manage the boys' schedule, that's not going to be good for our relationship. So now he's got this motivation that he can always go to. He can use that to get me to hire him. He can use that to get me to accept an offer if I want to hold out to see if there's another offer. Dave, you don't want to do that. Like you said, you guys got to get moved together. We got to accept this offer. This may be the best one that we have coming in. He's going to be able to use that pain point because he truly understands the emotional reason behind the move and what will happen if we don't sell it in a timely fashion. So I love the way that Pete went through that because he's got information now that most agents wouldn't have. And he's able to push those buttons because people are either running away from pain or they're running towards pleasure. It's our job to figure out what it is so that we can push those buttons when we're going through our script. So I hope that makes sense. Ashley Davidson, good to see you in Atlantic City this week. Why should I hire you? I've talked to all these agents. You guys kind of sounded like you were saying the same thing. Tell me why I should hire you.
You should hire me because I care about my clients above what I come through at the end. Some agents will come in, they're trying to just buy your listing, use it for their own marketing purposes. But what I do is to make sure that I meet your goals. What your motivation is what my motivation is.
Wow, you that was good. That just came out. There you go. We should have an answer to that question, shouldn't we, Ashley?
Yes.
What's our USP? What's our snap, as Lisa Nichols would say? Why should I hire you over hiring somebody else? Right? Tim Ho, I see you over there typing. He's like, oh, damn, David, why are you calling me right now? Betty, I'm going to get him. Tim, why should I hire you?
Um,
It doesn't have to be a script. Talk from your heart. Like I'm talking to all these agents, and you've come to me. I like you. I like what you talked about. But why should I hire you?
um, well, working with me, you get all the attention for from of my time, because I'm not a big agent or anything. As you can see, I'm pretty new in the business. However, I work with a big team, and I dedicate all my time with all the clients that I have.
Okay. And Tim, you've worked with clients before, right? I've seen you ringing the bell. What did your clients say about working with you? What did they enjoy about working with you?
I'll never ask them that.
You should ask.
Yeah.
You should ask, because when I say, why should I hire you? You should easily say, well, my clients that work with me enjoy working with me because I communicated well with them. When I understood what their motivation was and their timeline, I did everything in my power to make sure that I hit their timeline for them. And they walked away and they were extremely happy. Like, just talk about the results that you got for other people. So start asking your clients, like, exit interviews. As an example, I just wrapped up Push yesterday. I'm scheduling exit interviews with everybody who went through Push. My questions are, tell me why you chose the program. Tell me what you got out of the program. How did I help you? What did it do for your business? And so I'm getting all that information. So when I talk to people about joining Push and they say, well, why should I join? Well, I just wrapped up a class. Here's what they said about their experience with me. Is that the type of experience that you want to have? Well, then that's why you should sign up. So you should be asking those questions so that you can talk about it. So next time, what did you enjoy about working with me? And more importantly, Tim, get it on video and post that up on your social media. That's a great way to get testimonials. It's just prepare your clients. Hey, I'm going to ask you what you enjoyed about working with me. I'm going to do a short little video. It's going to help me grow my business. And we should be posting that, but we should also be using that information to answer the question on why someone would want to work with you. Talk about the results that you get for people. That's what Lisa Nichols tells us to do in her Snap video, is not talk about what you do throughout the process, but talk about the results that people get from working with you. And it's so much more powerful. Good job, Tim. Thank you. Thank you. Let me just check my time. I have 11 minutes. I want to open up the last 11 minutes to you guys. What are you struggling with? You got some great people on here. Dave is doing well, overcoming the objections. Pete's on here. Al's on here. I got Fatima. I got both Ashleys on here, right? What can we talk about that can help you and bring you value? What are you struggling with? What's the fear? What's keeping you from picking up the phone? What do you think you're going to hear from a prospective seller that you may not be able to handle, that you want to master so that you can go out there and take more listings as we head into 2024? Al, you're up first.
Yeah, for me, it's not like I'm not afraid to make the phone calls, but for me, it's frustration. It's like it's more anger than fear, because I get to a point where, I call like everybody in the map. I do FSBOs through Zillow. I look at the Zillow, and I've gotten to the point where I've called like 99% of everybody on that map, and 9 out of 10 won't pick up their phone. And then those that do, no matter what you say, they're just like, no, no, no. Or so for me, it's not fear. Like I'm not afraid to call people, but I just get really mad, and then it turns into getting discouraged, and that's what makes me not want to do it.
Understood. Can I coach you around this really quickly?
Yeah.
I need you to be completely 100% transparent with me, though. Give me the real answer. No bullshit. Fair enough?
Okay.
You called 99% of the for sale by owners. I heard that. And I think that's fantastic. I wish more people did that.
Mm-hmm.
How many times are you calling them? Are you calling them 2 times, or are you calling them 10 times? Be truthful.
I called plenty of times, because what I do is I favorite the homes that I reach out to. That way I keep them on a list, and then I keep looking every day to see what's going on. Did it sell? Is it still up? So, Sometimes I'll call a week later, sometimes a couple of days later.
Okay.
It depends on what kind of, if they answered or not, or if they don't answer, I typically will call back right away. If
Good.
they do answer and I talk to them briefly, then I might wait a week or so.
So
So yeah, I do call back. I
Okay.
call back.
So if I came and visited you and grabbed your phone and looked at your call log, I'm going to see that you're calling these first sale by owners at least once a week.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So then
Okay.
the follow-up is good. Fatima's right. We got to keep our foot on their necks, and it's all about the follow-up. So if you're not getting the results you're looking for with the follow-up that you're doing, then it sounds like what you're saying may need to change. You need to switch up your scripting. So as an example, I'm a FSBO that you call, I got to sell my house, but I've told you, hey, I'm going to give it a couple months and see what I can do on my own before I hire an agent. You're doing your weekly follow-up call. What do you say to me? Ring, ring. I answer the phone. Hello? What do you say?
Hey, Mr. Seller. This is Al. I don't know if you remember me. I called you about a week ago about the property you had for sale.
I think so. How can I help you?
Yeah, I'm just checking back. You said you needed some time. You wanted to wait a little bit before you made any decisions about maybe working with an agent to help you with the sale.
Yeah, yep. I'm still there.
Okay. And that's good. It's good to take time sometimes to make a decision so you make the right decision. I just would like to know if we can meet in person. That way you see who I am. You can talk to me face to face and see if the vibe is right and maybe we could work together.
I'd be open to that, like I told you before, in a couple months. So if you want to follow back up into January or so, then if I don't have it, so we can meet at that point in time. I'm not ready yet.
I hear that. So I hear you're not in a huge rush to sell your property.
Well, I mean, I have a deadline, but if I wait until end of January, I'm still good. I have time.
Oh, you have a deadline? So what's the deadline, may I ask?
For me, March. I need to have it sold by March.
Okay. So would you rather sell it sooner or later?
I mean, as long as I get my number, I'm okay.
Right. Because here's the thing. If you don't have the right strategy, you could be delaying your sale even longer. So, I'd love to go over that with you, but a lot gets lost in translation over the phone. I only need 15 minutes. I can show you what I do. I can show you how I work. We can go over the numbers and see if it makes sense.
Okay. So that's a typical call with you, right?
If I get that far.
Okay. So let's say you got that far. I want some people on here like Pete, Fatima, David, some other Ashley. What are some things that he didn't say or some things that he could have said that may have gotten me to want to talk with him and meet with him versus waiting?
You didn't ask him where he's going.
Yeah, I think Fatima said that too in the comments. No motivation. Like, tell me again.
Or I would have said, how is it like? How many people have come to see your home? Like, I would have started asking him questions about what we're talking about, right? Like, what's going on with you selling your house yourself? How many people showed? Did you do an open house? Like, how many people in the last week since we last spoke? How many people have been there to see your home?
Yeah.
Because
I typically will say, like, well, how's it going? Have you had offers? How's the sale going? So I do get into that as well.
And yet
right,
you didn't cover that with me.
You didn't do that.
Yeah. That's the whole thing, man. I want you to handle this like real play, like you were talking to a real person, because I think what David said is correct. You went into it. Al, unmute. Let's role play really quickly. Hey, Al, it's David. We talked about a week ago about your property. I was calling you back. I know when we talked, you told me you were going to take a while to make a decision. Let me ask you, how did this past weekend go? Did you have any offers on your property?
Yeah, I had, a couple of investors, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. Yeah. So, I've had some people come by, look at it, and I had one person say that they're waiting to hear back from the bank. So
gotcha. I hear a lot of that, Al. Man, would it surprise you to know that we had several open houses this past weekend, where we had over 20 parties at each open house, and every property actually sold with multiple offers. Would that surprise you to hear?
That almost sounds not true.
Listen, I can actually show you the receipts.
Mm.
And I'm sure you're probably wondering, I know I'd be wondering, like, how are those other houses getting that type of traction and getting those type of offers when you're getting investors that are coming to you and offering low prices, right? I'm sure you're curious how these homes are getting sold, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a slow market,
Not
so I
not
don't
at
know.
all. Are you familiar with the techniques that I use to get property sold?
I mean, I've had, I've talked to several, realtors. They all say the same thing, that they're going to do marketing, they're going to do
Yeah,
open houses.
yeah,
Yeah, I've heard the spiel.
yeah. Listen, man, there's so many agents out there. It's not about don't talk, show me, right? Show me the money. Al,
Mhm.
here's what I'm gonna do for you, because like I said, we just sold 3 houses this past weekend, and you're sitting there and not getting the activity you want. I'm gonna come and meet with you and just lay out my marketing and strategy plan. I know you're not ready to make a decision right now, and I'm okay with that. However, sometimes at a weak moment, you can end up with a weak agent. And I just want to make sure you have an opportunity to see how I got those other properties sold. And if you decide you want to work with me now, great. If you decide you want to hold off until later, I'm okay with that too. I just want to make sure you have the right information so you can make the best decision for you and your family. So I'm going to come by and just show you those strategies and what I do. Will tonight work at 6, or is maybe Saturday at 2 o'clock better?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've sold many houses. I've sold a couple of houses on my own, so I know what to do.
Oh, for sure. I think you can definitely sell this house, Al. That's not what I'm here for. My question would be, is it important to you to just have bragging rights that you sold the house, or is what you sell it for important to you?
Yeah, well, the last house I sold, I mean, I got what I wanted, so I'm thinking maybe this time around I could do the same thing.
Well, that's what concerns me.
I'm not in a rush, I'm not in a rush.
I hear you, but that's actually
I
what
mean,
concerns me, Al.
I do have a deadline by March, but that's still what, 4 months away?
It's about 4 months away, but you know what concerns me is that you're actually going to sell this house and get what you want. Can I explain?
Okay.
I work with a lot of for sale by owners, and they get what they want. The problem is they leave a lot of money on the table because they don't really understand what their home is worth, and they don't understand how to maximize the price and get it sold for top dollar. So my concern is you may sell it and get what you want, but that still leaves a lot of money on the table for you, even after paying my commission. So that's why we're going to meet. I'm not here to force you to list with me. I just want to give you the information because I want to make sure that you get the results that you're looking for. And you may not know the benefits of working with an agent until you meet with me. So why don't we do that? No harm, no foul, costs you nothing but a few minutes of your time. Here's what I promise you, Al. If I come out and in 10 minutes, I'm not saying anything different than you've heard from other agents, we can shake hands and you can kick me out. Is that fair?
I mean, you're just gonna come by and show me comps, right? I mean, I got a friend of mine who's he's a inspector, and he an appraiser, and he told me that my property was worth 550,000. So I think he's pretty much an expert in home values, right? Because he's an appraiser.
He should be. I don't know him, but yes, he should be. However, all I know is this house has been on the market for 58 days, Al, and the average days on market in this area is 13. So my question is, why do you think other homes are selling and yours isn't?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a slow market. I don't know.
Well, I mean, as I said before, we just sold 3 this past weekend. I don't want you to buy into that narrative that it's a slow market. I'm going to come out and show you how we got those properties sold. And I'll let you make a decision.
You want me to keep throwing objections?
I don't care. I'll keep overcoming them until you meet with me or hang up on me, one of the two.
Well, let me talk to my wife. Let me see what she says.
You are a smart man. I don't do anything without talking to my wife, so I definitely hear you there. However, I got to tell you, because of what we just did with those other homes this weekend, my schedule's filling up. I have a lot of seller appointments, and I want to make sure I can fit you in. So I'm going to go ahead and pencil you in Saturday at 2. That typically is a good time for you and your wife, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's a good time.
I'll pencil you in. You talk to her. If that time doesn't work, call me back and we'll reschedule. I just want to make sure I have an opportunity to meet with you before my schedule fills up. So we'll mark it down for Saturday at 2. If I don't hear from you, I'll be there. If that time doesn't work for her, we'll reschedule and make it a time that works better. Fair enough?
All right, sounds good.
I mean, I don't know how I did with that. You tell me, Al. Like, is that the conversation we should be having with the seller? Like, should we be fighting to get in front of them?
I don't know, man. What's that?
Should we be fighting to get in front of them?
Absolutely. But yeah, but I mean, I could have thrown more objections, but then we'd be here all day because I hear like all of them every single time that I do get someone to talk with, or sometimes I'll be really short.
Well,
that's not a good time.
Here's the thing. You got to be ready to handle any objection that comes your way. And the beautiful thing here, and I'm going to wrap the call up by saying this. If it were me, Al, I would be excited that I'm getting those objections. If people didn't want to work with you, they just hang up. If they're giving you objections, they're giving you an opportunity to secure the business. You just have to be able to overcome the objection. So be happy you're getting those objections. Don't get frustrated. The objections are unanswered questions in the mind of a seller. They just need some clarity and some understanding. Our job is to overcome those objections. And when we do, we have to overcome the objection and go for the close, overcome the objection and go for the close until they have no more objections. And what Pete said earlier was right. Isolate the objections. Is there any other reason you wouldn't meet with me besides that? So you know you're only dealing with the one objection. So I love when people give me objections. I used to hate it, but once I understood that they were still on the phone with me, they were still talking to me. So they saw some value. I just needed to say the right thing to convince them. It just gave me the power to play the hang up game. And for all of you guys on the call, the hang up game is as long as they're giving you objections, you keep overcoming them until you get the appointment or till they hang up on you. You don't give up. You don't hang up that phone. You keep going. I'm going to let Fatima get the last word on this. What's up, Fatima?
Hi, good morning. From my perspective, I noticed that, he is trying to overcome all these objections, but he's not even asking for a preview. I think asking for a preview is going to get him in there instead of trying to overcome all these objections. A lot of coaches say a preview is a waste of your time. I don't think it's a waste of your time. I honestly think it's gonna make you even stronger.
Yes.
Because the conversation, just the fact that they're giving you the opportunity just to review the property, you're actually face to face, and things change a lot when you're face to face with a person. So my suggestion to you is, Al, try to get a preview. You can say, look, I don't necessarily have a buyer for you right now, but I work with buyers and sellers every single day. And my job is to find them home. And your home might be the right one for me, my buyers and sellers. I mean, you have nothing to lose. What do you say if you give me 10 or 15 minutes of your time so I can preview your home? And at the same time, I can show you what you can do to actually get your home sold faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done a few previews. I try to come out and see the property.
Okay.
All right.
So yeah,
and when you come out, what do you bring to them? What do you say to them? That's also very important.
True.
My suggestion is also when you come out, use all the scripts that you've been taught. Ask, by the way, where are you moving to? Do you have a time frame in mind?
Mm-hmm.
What's important about you selling this home? So you're actually doing the script in person. And that's right. And let me tell you, it's gonna be a big difference when you ask all these questions. They're like, oh, this person really cares about me. That's just a suggestion.
I agree with you, Fatima. Our job with for sale by owners is not to list them on the phone. It's to get in front of them and get belly to belly. They can't hang up on you when you're in their house. And so what Fatima's saying is right. You get the preview as you're walking around the house and they're giving you the grand tour that's going to take half an hour. you should be able to go through your script during that time and understand why they're moving, what their motivation is, what their timeline is, what they would be looking for in an agent if they decided to hire you, if they're obligated to meet with someone else. The reason the preview is never a waste of your time is that it's your job to know the local inventory. And what if that for sale by owner actually sells that house on their own? You may need to use that house one day as a comparable for another property you're listing. Your job is to know all the inventory no matter what. So we should be going out and seeing those houses and getting previews. So Fatima, I agree. It's not a waste of your time to actually do previews. And when you get in front of someone, you have a better opportunity to convert them and close them, especially if you follow up by going to their open house and sitting on the couch with them and talking about the house and discussing their motivation, and you continue to follow up systematically every single week. So Fatima, thank you for that. Pete, what's up, man?
The only thing I just want to throw in as a caveat to that is just be careful how you do that. Because if you go in and like, that should be like a last ditch effort, in my opinion, where you can't get the appointment and whatever. Because if you go in and you could end up setting a bunch of previews with unqualified sellers, and you do end up wasting your time. And I also think sometimes you end up with like a bait and switch kind of situation where it's like, if you're going in there and you're just saying you like, I personally, this is my personal opinion, is like, I'm always kind of like, hey, listen, like, then let's do this. I understand you don't want to list with anybody. I'm going to come by. I'm going to drop off my FSBO packet for you. So at least you have the information that you need to make the best decision, right? And at worst, I get to preview your property. I'm not telling you I have a buyer now, but I'm prospecting for new clients every single day. And if I met a buyer tomorrow, I'd be able to tell them about your house. Isn't that something that would be of value to you?
Love it.
So you're not going in there as like, oh, just let me see your house. I just want to know the market, and then try to start talking to them about listing their home. Because then they're immediately going to feel like you're someone who, in my opinion, this is all my opinion. I'm not trying to, contradict anybody by any means, but I think that it's just go for the preview for sure if you can't set the appointment, but also make sure you're setting the proper expectation for when you go to the property. So when you start talking about listing it, they don't feel like you just bait and switch them just to get in the door.
I hear you, Pete. Good point. I've never had anybody feel like I've bait and switched by saying, let me preview. However, a lot of us will say, I have a potential buyer. I want to see if the house is right for them. And we make it like we have a buyer and we go in and do a bait and switch. That's what I have the biggest problem with. Don't start that relationship up with a lie saying you have a buyer and you really don't. You're using that to get in the door. Just go in. I'd rather have you go in and preview to know the inventory than lie and say you have a buyer and when you actually don't. That's really disingenuous, and they pick up on that pretty quickly and don't want to work with you if that's how you're wasting their time. So just be respectful of that. Let me ask you guys, the way we did this today, kind of talking through some scenarios and then going into the objections, that was different this week. I'm working to try some different things. Was that helpful? Not helpful? Tell me like what would make this more helpful for you the next week we do this. And actually next week, just so you know, I'm thinking of doing a live listing presentation on here and having someone volunteer to be the listing agent. Okay. Okay. So that we can see what it looks like, right? Who would be willing to be the seller? Someone who's actually been on listing appointments and can give Pete a hard time. I'll try to get Haza, but if I can't get Haza, who else would be willing to Pete's like, damn it, not Haza. Who else would be willing to be a seller? Someone who knows what a seller would say, someone who knows how a seller would object. Think about it. If you would like to volunteer for that, reach out to me and let me know. But thank you, Pete, for volunteering. Was today helpful? Ashley, Marilyn, Fatima, Tim, the way we went over things, was that helpful?
Yes.
Yes. Ashley?
Yes, it was helpful.
Ashley?
I like it.
Just like,
especially when we don't come
sure
into
was.
the,
All right. Hey, here's the thing I just want to say as we wrap up. You're not making the calls right now because you're afraid you won't say the right thing and you're going to mess up and ruin the opportunity. Well, you don't have the business anyhow. One way I learned was just get on the phone and call them. I figured out what they would say pretty quickly. And I found that most for sale by owners, most expired say the same thing. And so then you just got to learn how to overcome those 4 or 5 things that they say. And the more calls you make, the better you get, the more your confidence increases. If you want to have success in this business, you just got to get started. Keep coming to calls like this, other calls that you can be on where you're practicing your scripts and what to say. But the best way to practice is get on the phone with actual sellers, get that actual objection from them, write it down, and then come to a call like this and say, I called a seller and here's what they said. I didn't know what to say. How should I have overcome that? And then let us help you. Let us give you some feedback. Fair enough? All right. So next week on Friday, we're going to do live listing presentation. I'll circle through with Pete, make sure he's still good for it. And then we can actually go through and see how a top agent, Pete's got a fantastic business. He and his wife, Ashley, are rocking it. And so we can see what he's saying. You guys can learn from him, and then you'll have an opportunity to give feedback or ask questions and maybe find out why he says certain things that he says during the listing presentation. So that's going to be good next week, Pete. Thanks for volunteering. What am I looking at there? Oh, gotcha. That man's already on the phone making calls. He's like, I'm on Vulcan 7 right now, trying to beat all you guys out, because he knows that most of you guys are on this call and you heard what you should be saying and you still aren't going to do it. So he said, I'm going to go ahead and get off the phone and start making some calls so I can get my unfair share. Don't let Pete get all the business. That business, somebody might just like the sound of your voice more than Pete's. They might like the fact that you called at 9:47 and Pete called at 9:43, and they might want to work with you because they were free at 9:40. You just don't know. Here's what I do know. If you continue to do what you've always done, you're going to continue to get what you've always gotten. And if that's no business or very little business, you got to do something different. Learn how to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Stop letting fear, stop letting this guy right here keep you from doing your job. No more drunk monkeys, right? Let's go. Let's go. I see you guys later. I got to go celebrate my beautiful wife's birthday with her, so I got to get out of here. But you guys have a good one. I will see you guys later on. Thanks for volunteering. David, thank you so much. Pete, Fatima, Ashley, Al, Alberto, Tim, everybody who chimed in. I really appreciate you guys. Have a good rest of your day, and we will talk soon.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Have a nice weekend.
Bye.